Hi there everybody, this is Andrea Moranville, Sweet Life of a Baker. I am so excited to finally be presenting to you something I've been working on for quite a while. So I don't know about you, but Thanksgiving to me just exudes tradition. Everything about Thanksgiving is tradition. What we eat, what we do as a family, and I know every family across America has their own traditions, right? And for the most part, the Thanksgiving meals across everyone's homes really doesn't change. What might be on one person's table might not be on another person's table. But here's the thing, for the most part, it's not going to change, right? Like, you're not going to be looking up new recipes, for example, for Thanksgiving meal, because for the most part, people try to have the same things on their meal. So what I'm going to talk to you about is a homemade version or a simplistic version or even a fancier version of things that you may already do at your own home, but that maybe you want to try to do a little twist on. For example, so I'm going to share with you 5 different things for the Thanksgiving table with a few more of my Sweet Life of a Baker tips. All of these recipes and all of these items are going to be on my blog on andreamoranville.com. So don't feel like you're missing out on the actual ingredients because I'm not standing in front of the kitchen, because they're absolutely on the blog. But what I am going to share with you are some of my delicious things that I love to make on my own kitchen, in my own home, at any given day, and especially at Thanksgiving. So first and foremost, I want to talk about cranberry sauce. I love all things cranberry. Now, I know in every home there's team fresh cranberry sauce and team canned cranberry sauce. And depending on which way you fall, you may or may not like fresh homemade cranberry sauce, or you may or may not have ever had it. I've got a recipe for you that is a fresh homemade cranberry sauce that I know you and your family are going to love. Now in my kitchen, at our Thanksgiving table, we have both. We have our homemade fresh and we have our bowl with the tube cylinder of the can right on the table, ready for everybody to slice. So we make everybody happy at our home. I know this is my favorite, and this is the one I'm going to be making on Thanksgiving. And so that's first and foremost, fresh homemade cranberry sauce. My version has a little tiny bit of cinnamon, fresh orange zest, a little bit of orange juice, vanilla extract, and just some sugar and some brown sugar, and some of those beautiful fresh whole cranberries. You know, this is half of what I've made. So I put it in here. It's another one of my little Sweet Life of a Baker tips. Any way that you can fancy up your table a little bit is great. So find a little dish that you can put your cranberry sauce in and just kind of set them on the table. And it's a really great way to kind of liven up the table or bring a new color to it. I love putting the cranberry sauce in a clear dish because you can really see the vibrant red color. But this is just one of those really great ideas that you can make at home, and you can jazz up your table just by doing a few little tweaks. The next thing I want to talk about are my delicious dinner rolls. This recipe is absolutely on my blog. You can take a look. It's one of my go-to for the holidays. See how nice and easily they snug back up together when they bake, and they kind of puff up, and they're those peel apart rolls. These are all items. This is definitely one of those items that, yeah, you can buy a bag of the Brown and Serve dinner rolls at the grocery store. They're good. I know. I've eaten them. But when you make your own dinner rolls, don't be afraid of the labor. This is such an easy recipe to make, guys. This is such an easy recipe. The only hands-on time, frankly, are in the first 15 minutes when you're mixing your dough together. Then you leave for an hour. You let it rest. You don't even have to do anything with it. You shape your rolls, pop them in the pan, and then when you bake them off, they come up beautiful, golden, and shiny. Now, anybody see, if you can, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a really nice glisten on top of these rolls. The way that you get that is by adding a little bit of an egg wash right before you bake them. So I take an egg and a little bit of heavy cream and I whisk it together, and I take a pastry brush and I brush it right on top of the dough before I pop it in the oven. And then you get that really great bakery style glisten on top of the rolls. And if you want to get extra decadent, right when they come out of the oven, brush on a little bit of melted butter, right? It'll absorb into that roll and it'll be really, really delicious. So this is just another item that you can do, make from home. Take a traditional twist on bread that most likely everyone is going to have on their dinner table, and make from scratch. It doesn't take much more effort, costs a heck of a lot less, and it's really going to be delicious, and everyone is going to say, wow, I can't believe you made your own rolls. Take this recipe, I promise you will enjoy it. Let's talk about something else. So I want to talk about candied pecans. Maple candied pecans, to be specific. You could use walnuts, you could use almonds, you could use pecans. take these pecans, or any type of a nut, you take a tiny bit of maple syrup, put it in a cast iron skillet, just like this one that the Brussels sprouts are in, put it on the stove, heat up that maple syrup, just a couple tablespoons, get it nice and bubbly, toss in your whatever nut you're going to use, coat them, cook it for just a few seconds, and let them cool on a baking sheet until they cool. And when you do that, you see you get a very nice glisten on the outside of these nuts. You can put them in a bowl at your table for a garnish. I just like to eat them like this. This is also a really, really great garnish on top of your Thanksgiving dessert. So if you're making a beautiful pumpkin pie and you're slicing it and serving it at the table, go ahead and throw one of these on top of each one of your pecan pies or your pumpkin pies or your apple pie, and this is going to really jazz up that plate and make it really, really nice and a little fancy. So it's a really great option. It's so easy, everyone. This is literally maple syrup that I put on a stovetop at medium heat for about not even 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Let it get nice and warm and bubbly, and then I let them cool. Brussels sprouts. Love them or hate them. I love Brussels sprouts. My kids won't touch this, but that's okay. So actually, we're going to have this whole meal for dinner tonight because it just came out of the oven. So it's not going to waste for sure. This is not one of those meals that's all staged for the video. This is actually going to be eaten in my own home tonight. But Brussels sprouts are a really great option as a side dish. You could do this exact same method I'm telling you with a green bean, with a broccoli. Basically what you do is you take a tiny bit of olive oil, maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons. You coat your vegetables in that olive oil, and then you sprinkle a little tiny salt and pepper on. Give it a nice toss it right in the oven at 375 for about a half an hour. Now these specific Brussels sprouts, I also put a tiny bit of maple syrup on as well before I baked them. And it gives it a nice little sweetness to it as well. You could take bacon, throw a little bacon in this. So this is a really versatile vegetable side dish that can be used in just about any way. It could be Brussels sprouts here today for me. Tomorrow night it could be green beans or roasted broccoli. But you can go ahead, throw it right in a cast iron dish, and something that's definitely oven safe, throw it right in the oven or on a baking sheet, give it a nice toss, pop it in a half an hour later, you have some really great roasted vegetables. Brussels sprouts, when you see them, they come like this. This is my favorite part about it. I wanted to share this. See how green these are? See how the difference in color in those Brussels sprouts? They get nice dark green when you're making them and you're roasting them. But what I wanted to, my favorite part is every now and then when you cut the end off before you prep it, these little leaves fall off. Those are my favorite part because they're nice and crispy and crunchy, and when they come out of the oven, they're almost like a little snack. So I'll oftentimes take these before dinner even starts and pop them in my mouth because they're a really great snack. Just a couple other things. So I've got bread, I've got cranberry sauce, I've got candied pecans, I've got a roasted vegetable, and then I've got my stuffing. Now this isn't a turkey, but this is a really good, delicious chicken. So a couple things about how do I prep my turkey or my chicken for Thanksgiving. First and foremost, underneath the turkey or the chicken that you make, you take some whole carrots, whole onions, chunked up into very large chunks, and long strands of celery, and make almost a bed for your bird. And then set it right on top. And then you can see that this has kind of created a lot of juice. That's all liquid from the chicken. But what's inside of this chicken is my homemade sage stuffing. Now this is a family recipe that I've been making for years. I actually grew the sage, dried the sage, and ground up the sage. Sage is probably my favorite herb. After that is rosemary. Sage is my favorite herb to use. And in sage stuffing, it is just a very traditional and classic and has a lot of memories for me and my own family. It's a simple recipe, guys. It has breadcrumbs, milk, egg, celery, onion, and sage, and a little bit of salt and pepper. And when you see the recipe on the blog, AndreaMoranville.com, I hope you try it. And if you don't have to stuff your turkey, if you're a non-bird stuffing person and you want to make the same stuffing, feel free to make it in a different dish. A baking pan like this is a perfect way to make it. You can pop it in the oven the exact same way and just bake it separate from the turkey or the chicken. The best thing about this is, I'll keep going about the chicken or the turkey, whatever you're making. When you're prepping your turkey or your chicken, underneath this layer of skin, you peel that away and you can take fresh herbs and butter and put it underneath the skin. Because the thing about the turkey is the only seasoning you get on a turkey or a piece of poultry like this is what goes on the outside. So by taking herbs and putting them underneath the skin before you put it in the oven, what you're doing is you're allowing the flavor to actually get into the turkey meat or the chicken meat. So I just set these decoratively on top of here as they cooked. It made my kitchen smell really, really good. But typically what I will do when I'm making my turkeys, I will take a sprig of fresh rosemary like this, and I'll put it right underneath the turkey skin before it goes into the oven with some herbs and butter, and I'll get some nice garlic under there, and it's a really, really great way to bring flavor to the turkey. Other than that, make sure you put a really nice thick coat of salt and pepper and garlic, whatever seasoning you're using, on the outside, because it's the only seasoning that the bird's going to get. So that's how I make mine. This is still warm. It came out of the oven a little while ago. It's an 8-pound chicken. It took a little while to make. Typically at Thanksgiving we'll have about a 20-pound turkey, so it takes a lot longer to make. But it's the same process. It's the same way that you make it. And then you can put it in the oven at whatever temperature you like. I typically will put mine in at 350. If I'm making turkey, I will cover it and then uncover it at the end for the last hour. So this is just another really great way that I make the turkey. So that's that. I want to talk about butter, okay? Let's talk about the table setting I have in front of me first and foremost. So to elevate your dish, I've got 2 types of butter here. I've got a really great salted high quality butter that you just put on a butter dish and put on the table. It looks really fancy on the plate. But what I've also done is another option is you can take your butter, an unsalted butter with some maple syrup or some honey, you whip it in your mixer, you put it in a really fancy, well, not fancy, a plastic piping bag like this with any type of a piping tip. You can get it at any, big box store or online. And you pipe a little rosette onto a bread plate or onto a plate. And the best thing about this is it makes the dinner table that much fancier, but you can do this ahead of time. So oftentimes I will make a ton of these rosettes on a baking sheet, and then I'll throw it in the freezer because they turn into little butter hockey pucks. Then you can take them out of the freezer early on in the day, when you're not scrambling, and put them in everybody's place setting. And you've got a really great little rosette here with a nice whipped maple butter next to your bread roll, and it makes it, the table look that much little more of a presentation. So that's how I set my table at home. If you don't think of these tips, maybe you will now. So hopefully you're liking some of these tips I'm making. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of the products here on my table, this blog post and this video is sponsored by Liberty Tabletop. And they have very graciously given me some great products to use and to cook with. And so I know and trust their products, and they are fantastic. But what I have here in front of you is I have their Betsy Ross flatware. It's probably my favorite flatware that they have. It's just stunning. It's remarkable. The way it glistens, the way it shines. And I have a really great place setting here with the Betsy Ross flatware next to, actually, this is my family's heirloom Syracuse china that was passed down, handed down from my great-grandmother or my grandmother to my mother and then to me. So I put this in the video because it really means a lot to me. I've actually brought things home from my own home here. And I also have some vintage Oneida silver here that's part of my family handed down. So I brought a few pieces of my home for this video that I'm hoping you like as well. And one of the greatest tips that I have for when you're setting your table, and we all know that Thanksgiving Day can kind of get away from us, and we can all start scrambling right before dinner. So I actually like to use wine goblets as a water glass at the table. I feel like it adds a nice little bit of elegance when you're trying to set a nice formal table, and it looks really pretty. And so what I'll do about an hour or an hour and a half, maybe not an hour and a half, about an hour before the dinner starts, I'll fill it with ice. Why? Because I don't want to be scrambling right before dinner, filling goblets up with ice. And so what's going to happen is, yes, the ice is going to melt, but not completely, and you top it off with water or sparkling water at the table right before dinner service, and the glass will still have ice. Now, if you've noticed, I put the water glass right above the butter knife. Traditionally, that's where a water glass would go, and this is where a wine glass would go. So I've kind of set it up how I would set up my formal table in my own dining room, so you could see as well. So I have the water glass here, and I have a champagne glass here just because it's, everybody loves a little champagne and bubbly at the holidays. But this is traditionally where the wine glass would go. And then on beautiful, nice taper candles. You don't need to put a bunch of fancy, decorations on. Just a few simple taper candles with some beautiful flatware and some gorgeous serving pieces can really dress up a table without too much. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, I want to thank Liberty Tabletop for providing me with some beautiful products to use to make this great meal. And again, I hope these tips have helped you. So I have stage stuffing, homemade cranberry sauce, maple candied pecans, homemade rolls, and a beautiful roasted vegetable. I hope you enjoy this. Andrea Moranville, Sweet Life of a Baker. Please go to my site, andreamoranville.com, to see these great recipes and also see a little bit more about some of these products. You can also go to libertytabletop.com and see these products for yourself. If you haven't seen their flatware up close and personal, or any of their partnered products that they sell on their site, I encourage you to do so. They are a fully U.S. made and manufactured, the only U.S. manufacturer of quality stainless steel in the country, and I am proud to represent them during my blog. So thank you so much. Andrea Moranville, Sweet Life of a Baker. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.